thanks to all of you for this wonderful film. I'm going to start with a question for Pedro. There's been talk about you making an English language feature for several years now, and you sort of tested the waters by making a couple of short films in English, which we showed here as well, one of which was with Tilda. But I'm wondering what made you decide on this book by Sigrid Nunez as the basis for your first English language feature?
Yeah, really, it was, I had the idea of making one day a movie in English. And that's why I made these two shorts, but also because they love their stories. They are 30 minutes movies, and you can say one story in 30 minutes. But I decided, when I read the novel of Sigrid Nunez, I was very inspired by the relation of these two women. And then when I start, I didn't know if at the end I have a script of a long feature, but you have to try. And then I follow the first encounter, and also this lady that needs to talk. In this sense, I was thinking about Persona of Bergman, but it's the opposite. The Liv Ullmann, it was the silent woman. And in this case, it's the ill woman, the sick woman that talks, and the other is listening. And it's always this. It's a good chance to reflect about mortality. This is something that at least in my life is very present. So when I found the chapter above all the proposition, it was really, I was very surprised. And I thought that was a very good sequence to develop between two actresses and two characters that they feel in a very different way in front of mortality. And that was the beginning, and when I follow with the script demand from me as a writer, and then after 145 pages, then I thought, well, this is a movie that I want to do.
Really what this film is about. It's about the room next door. We are in the room next door to each one of each other, and we're in the room next door to Syria, to Beirut tonight.
Yes.
We're
yes,
in the room next
absolutely.
door to Gaza, to Jerusalem,
yes.
To China. We are in the room next door, and what Pedro has done for 23 films, this is the 23rd and there will be more, is encouraged us not to look away from everything, from death. It's not just unlucky people who die. It's not just unlucky people whose loved ones die. It's not just unlucky people who find themselves in the middle of conflict. But we mustn't look away.
Our message, if we have one in this movie, is it the message of empathy. Yes, to feel very close to someone, which is not the usual thing in the world in general. But at least in something that we can do, what is a movie. The empathy is the big word, and just to be there, very close to someone, helping them, and hugging, open our arms to someone that is sick and needs us. This is just the message that we can give with this movie. Yep.
Not sure how to go on from that, but I do think I think we should just maybe follow this line of thinking. And I rewatching it today, I was struck by the line that it's Julianne's character who says it, but it's in the scene where John's character is giving his monologue about the state of things, and you talk about how there are different ways to live inside a tragedy. And that seems to me to be really key to understanding the meaning of this film.
Yes, the political message in the movie is with the voice of this wonderful John Turturro, talking about the situation that we live everywhere. This and this kind of negationism. He's true, and but poor Ingrid Ingrid needs to say that he's right, but she was taught to live in this kind of apocalypse, just celebrating day by day by the hand of Tilda, just life itself. And that is also, I mean, this is a kind of optimism in the middle of a tragedy, that you, even in the center of that, I mean, she's living with someone that is going to be dead one of the days, and she's going to meet her, the body, but she's still celebrating everything. And that is a wonderful message from Julianne, and Julianne was great telling that too. And also this represents the great lesson that she learns in the last weeks with Martha. That exactly what I said. Thank you.
I wanted to come back to what I was initially asking about putting Tilda and Julianne together, because it really is just central to the film that these two actors are in harmony, in sync, in symbiosis. So if you can talk a little bit about your thinking, and I would love to hear from both of you as well.
You know, as I said at the beginning, I have just in my mind, I mean, it was not a real reference, but Persona was in my mind, Persona, the movie of Ingmar Bergman, in the sense of someone is talking, in this case is the healthy person, Julianne is listening, but Tilda is talking and talking and talking. And at the end, I mean, the character of Julianne, I like to think that there is a kind of transference from Tilda to her. And she became much more stronger. And I mean, in the last conversation with the policeman, she's really, she's remind me really, I mean, these tough ladies of the noirs, that she's like a wall, and it's in a way, it's a sort of reincarnation, not in a paranormal way, but ella hereda parte del carácter de Tilda.
She inherits part of Tilda's character.
Hereda también sus escritos sobre la guerra.
And she's also inheriting all the writings she has done about war.
Hereda parte de su casa.
And she inherits part of her house.
Y hereda también a su hija.
And she also inherits her daughter.
Y ella podrá explicarle a su hija todo aquello, todos los años de silencio que vivió, de un enorme malentendido, ella va a poder explicárselo.
And she's going to be able to explain to the daughter all those years of silence that were due to a misunderstanding. She's going to be able to tell her about it.
Entonces, a pesar de la tragedia, para mí creo que es uno de los finales más optimistas.
So despite the tragedy at the end of the film, I think it's one of the most optimistic endings to a film.
So Tilda, you were attached first because you had just recently worked with Pedro. But if you couldn't say a little bit about how Julianne came, because I think you also had something to do with this.
Well, having had the beautiful honor of being sent an email by Pedro saying, here's something for you to read, and being so grateful for it, it being exactly the film I wanted to make at the time, he asked me the question, who do you imagine for Ingrid? And there was one face, one name in my mind, and I was trepidatious because I thought, what if he has another name or a list of names? And I had the nerve to type out a name, press send, and his email crossed with mine, and we both, bing, Scotland, Madrid, Julianne Moore. And it's unimaginable.
And it was the best idea.
It was
the best
unimaginable. Unimaginable that it could have been anybody else. Because, I mean, this beautiful thing, which is the story is of a story of friends from a long time ago who haven't seen each other for a couple of decades, who are exactly the same age, pretty much. Julie and I are pretty much the same age, but we'd only met a couple of times, very much in passing, in the corridors at sort of film festivals, and had a good hunch that we would like and want to be around each other, and had a sort of slight fantasy of working together once, but how could we imagine this? I mean, this was too much. And so we came together, not as old friends. We'd made up for lost time, I would say. Pedro said we never stopped talking. It's true, right?
It's true, it's true. But it's good for the movie that we see that you are really very close friends.
Yeah.
It really is in the screen. So it was the best.
But we understand this. We've lived long enough to know the value of old friendship, and also to have that experience, I know we both have, of having an old friend who you don't see for a couple of decades, and then you catch up with them again. The value of that is so intense, because your bond is to do with the good stuff. It's not to do with those, in-between bits that one kind of gets through. It's to do with the real seedbed of your life and who you are. And so this is who Martha wants to be with her. And it's a big ask, because Ingrid is really frightened. And that thereby hangs the tale.
And I think that, for me, there's nothing more profound than witnessing somebody else's life. As human beings, we're always like, we imagine that maybe we are completely alone, or that no one's ever going to fully know us, and there's a solipsistic quality sometimes to our lives, and only in communion with others, and only in relationship, and only in reflection are we able to see ourselves. And so that's what Pedro has done so beautifully. And even when you said that a movie can't change the world, and I know what you mean by that, but I think that that's what they do, is that they reflect us, so we're able to see ourselves and know that we're not alone, and know that there is possibility, and there's always possibility in witness to each other.
Yeah. And very importantly, that it's possible to change, because I think this is one of the beautiful things about this fairy tale, and it feels to me like a fairy tale. It's a poem about the capacity for people to actually change each other. Ingrid says she is too scared. She isn't too scared. Martha says she has to be in company. She doesn't. She goes out alone. They have affected each other. And that's a big, that's a message, that we can affect each other, we can change.
Before we wrap up, John, maybe we'll bring you in as well. I want to...
The shared lover.
I only have gloom and doom to predict.
No, you have a great sexual reputation as well.
Yes, that's true.
Times two.
It's all times two. That's why I'm here. So.
All right. I think that is probably the point at which we should end. But thank you to all of you for this film and for being here with us tonight.
Thank you.